Generalissimo Francisco Franco. Now, he gets painted as a fascist, although he really wasn't. He just co-opted the Falange, the party of Jose Antonio Primo. I believe that was him. But imagine this: you are in Spain, right? The government breaks down, the monarchy breaks down. I believe it wasn't the Carlist, it was the monarchy breaks down, the government breaks down. You have to form a new government. And there's different factions. Now, on one side you have the internationalists and the quote-unquote leftists, which were the anarchists and the communists. And the communists were under the Bolsheviks. Now, you're somebody living in Spain, and your culture is Catholic, and your religion is Catholic. You have a very strong sense of family, strong traditions, cultures, holidays. And now, seeing what happened in the Bolshevik Revolution and the stated goals of Marxism in general, I mean, the destruction of the family, the erasing of all previous culture, religion, philosophies, this kind of thing. Not to mention that all property would be seized by the state, all land. Now, granted, there was a great inequity between the peasants, and the ruling class, but there was other people who owned shares of land and things like that, and there were businesses that had companies. Now, again, fast forward, look at what happened in a place like Venezuela when they nationalized all their industry. But even if you're a peasant, you get the death penalty if you're a Catholic. I mean, there were mobs of people in the street when the Spanish Republic took power, killing anybody they suspected of believing in God, who, if you wouldn't renounce God, you were dead. Now, we saw the same thing happen in Mexico under Calles, especially under Calles during La Cristera, or the Cristero War, but it went on from the Constitution of Benito Juarez to 1940. It went on for about 40 years. So, people who joined Franco in Franco's fight were basically people who didn't want their entire way of life destroyed, their children brainwashed, their families ripped apart, their traditions outlawed, and people who were against thought crime. People act like, Franco, since he adopted fascism, he was for thought crime. No, it's the communists who were for thought crime. And I'm not trying to defend the fascists, but I mean, the Falange, Franco wasn't even interested in politics. He was just part of the army. He was a conservative who wound up adopting the Falange. But yeah, there's so much romance around the Spanish Republic and no pasaran and all this stuff. And the Abraham Lincoln Brigade, the Americans that came over and fought for the Bolsheviks and the anarchists, who killed people, who burned down churches and murdered men, women, and children. And they tried to defend it, saying, "Oh, well, Franco, his government executed people." In the case of the Republic, it was normal citizens just going out and killing. And I think that when the government does it, it's worse. What? The government executing people after a trial, or for espionage, or for being a traitor or sedition, is worse than a situation like Rwanda, where you're just accused and then killed by your neighbors. So people flocked to fight for Franco, and not all of the Spanish Republicans were united. I mean, the Basques in Navarre weren't, I don't believe they were anti-Catholic, but how could anybody know? And some of the Basques fought for Franco. So people say, oh, the Franco's oppressive regime. Well, look who he was fighting against. In the Spanish Republic, not some romantic great ideal. They were butchers and murderers. I mean, people were staring the French Revolution, the Paris Commune, and the Bolshevik Revolution right in the face, and said, "Shit, we're gonna have to face that." Okay, Spanish peasants and Spanish workers, you give up your traditions, your relations of your family, your religion, your culture, your language, your holidays, and your customs, which is what both leftist anarchist and the Bolsheviks demanded it. I mean, read the Communist Manifesto. Nowadays, Marxists have kind of blended with the Catholic Church, which is better, I guess, but it's ludicrous to think, oh, Franco was some monster. Franco was the salvation of Spain, really, and allowed it to actually have a democracy later. Yeah, he was a dictator and became totalitarianistic and, persecuted the hell out of his enemies. But I posit that Franco's Spain was much better in every way, but especially for Spanish culture, the Spanish people, Spanish family life, than would be under the Republic. The Republicans were terrible. I mean, Franco wasn't an angel, but in a heartbeat, I would have fought under Franco. And I think all those assholes that went over in the Abraham Lincoln Brigade from the United States and Ireland and England were just like the people who went over to fight for ISIS. Oh, you want to go over and execute priests and kill children who've taken communion? Yeah, nice job. I would call them fascists, but I mean, in this case, the fascists weren't doing that. They weren't executing children. And yeah, he got help from Mussolini and Hitler. But guess what? He didn't take part in World War II. Yeah, he had allies help him. But the United States was allied with the USSR, a far bigger murderer than fascist Italy or Nazi Germany combined. So what do you do? Okay, you got help from Mussolini and Hitler. Again, look at the evil on the other side. Which side would you have fought for? I would have easily sided with Franco. Just like I'd easily side with the FMLN or the Sandinistas or the Cristeros. Because the one is a big bully that's trying to kill you and the other one are just normal people. I don't care about the politics. When you have murderous psychopaths that want to destroy your race, your culture, your religion, you stand up and you fight. And it doesn't matter if they're called communists or fascists or capitalists or whatever. But this whole thing that the Spanish Civil War was so one-sided and the good guys lost. Bullshit. The people who came out of hiding, that were hiding in apartments in darkness for months and even years in some cases, could finally go out in the street and celebrate because guess what? They were known to have believed in God, or you know what? They criticized communism at some point in their life, or anarchism, or said, "Yeah, I like the king. The king is actually a good thing," or some just minor infractions like that would have been killed. So yeah, I mean, Spanish Civil War wasn't one-sided, and the good guy did win. It's just that he turned into a brutal dictator. And was he that brutal? I mean, look at what he was contending with. Look what rose up in Spain in the form of anarchists and Bolsheviks. And the Bolsheviks were straight from the Soviet Union. It would have become a colony, Soviet Union. And keep in mind, I believe that the CIA in the United States and the government of El Salvador was evil, and the FMLN were correct. I believe the Sandinistas were correct in Nicaragua and should have helped the FMLN. So it's not a right-left divide. All right, peace to you.